Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day to talk about vacancy tax. As most of you know, the federal, provincial, and in Vancouver, municipal governments have all implemented vacancy taxes to try and ensure that there's more rental stock available for people that are living in the Lower Mainland. We're going to start with the Vancouver tax. Even though it only applies in Vancouver and most of the province will not be subject to it, the Vancouver tax has to be filed by February 3rd, so that's next week. So if anyone lives in Vancouver, you should get your filing done as soon as possible. The deadline is right away, as I mentioned. It's called the Empty Homes Tax. It's again applicable only in Vancouver, so don't worry about it if you're anywhere else. The rate is quite high if you do have an empty home. It's 3% of the assessed value for 2025. And every residential property must have a declaration filed regardless of whether you qualify for the exemptions. The key exemptions for most of these taxes include the principal residence or if your property is rented out. Again, the purpose is to get more rental stock available. So if your home is rented out or you're using it, then you're fine. Having said that, there are different exemptions for all three levels of this triple layer cake of vacancy tax. So just because you qualify for an exemption on one doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be exempted from the other. The one exception to that is if you're living in your home or it's rented out, you're going to be okay and not subject to the tax, but you still have to file. So that's important to know. So Vancouver, again, you have until next week to file. If you're in North Van, West Van, Burnaby, you don't need to deal with the Vancouver Empty Homes Tax. The second layer of taxes is the one that will apply to more people than the first, obviously, is the provincial vacancy and speculation and vacancy tax. That applies to most of the province in the urban areas. There is a map online where you can see if your property is subject to it, but in the Lower Mainland and even the broader area, almost everything is covered unless you qualify for an exemption. Whistler is exempted, so that's something to note. The time for that one is March 31st, so you have a few months to file that one. And again, the key exemptions are if you live there or if you have your property rented out. Everyone on title has to file this, so it's not like Vancouver's tax where it's per property. So in Vancouver, if you have one property and 5 people on title, you just make one filing. For the BC speculation and vacancy tax, everyone has to file. The rates are not too bad right now, but they're going up next year. So right now for 2025, it's 0.5% for if you have to pay the tax for Canadian citizens and people with permanent residence, and 2% for foreign owners. Next year, the rates are going up, so it'll be for the 2026 year. When you're filing in 2027, it'll be 1% for Canadians and PRs and 3% for people that are foreigners. So again, that's something to keep in mind, and there's also penalties if you don't file. The final level, the third layer of tax, is the federal tax. Now, if you've been following the news, you'll know that last fall there was, in the budget, it was proposed that this tax be canceled because it wasn't really making any difference in the pricing of properties, the rental available. So the federal government has proposed that it will be canceled, and it's done that in Bill C-15. That bill has not been proclaimed yet, so it's not in force. We need to keep watching that because you need to file this tax return by April. I suspect that it will be passed into law by April and you won't need to worry about it for 2025, but you still are required to have filed for 2022, 2023, and 2024. So if you're behind on any of those filings, please get those in. If you have any questions, let me know, but that again still exists as a tax, the federal government Underused Housing Tax, but we suspect it'll be gone before April. If you have any questions on these or any other real estate matters, please give me a call. I'm happy to discuss it. Thanks.